So, hi, hello. Welcome everyone to Heart. And thank you so much, Clark, for accepting an invitation to come on the show tonight. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me. I always enjoy these. Like I don't want to say necessarily like I guess it is technically a podcast, but I just like having conversations with people within the community. Like it's nice to talk about things that aren't just Hearthstone, but still use that as like a way to find common ground.
Exactly, I agree. Usually the first question I ask is about your name. How did you come up with your name, ClarkHellscream? But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit more about your hair. So you just cut your hair, right? And you had really long
Yeah.
hair. So how does it feel? Tell us a little bit about that before we get into your name.
I So one other reason I decided to cut my hair was because having long hair is a challenge, as I'm sure you all know.
Yes.
It's just one thing I was particularly tired of was waking up with my hair in my mouth. And one thing that was like the final straw where it's like, all right, I need to do something, I need to change, was whenever I have my dog Xena laying in my lap whenever I'm in bed, there are some times where I would try to get up, but my own hair would be caught in my back, so I would literally like pull my head back while trying to get up. And that was when I was like, okay, something's got to change. But my hair hasn't been this short since I was a sophomore in high school.
Wow.
So it's been like 9, 10 years.
It must feel weird.
It felt weird at first, but I've already kind of settled with it. I think the color is mainly what's helped me accept it. All my family, like, they saw photos of before the color, and they're like, "Oh, you look so good." It's like, yeah, but it could look better.
And what about the mermaid blue?
I was trying to go for like Frodan blue, honestly, like a more bold blue, but they didn't have the exact color at the place that I got it done. So I just decided, screw it. Like this looks good, and honestly, it kind of matches a lot of the other blue things that I have. Obviously, I got this blue shirt, but I've always liked the color blue, and I'm always one of those kinds of people that focuses too much to little details. So I like to match.
Good. Well, I'm loving the mermaid blue. And I'm really glad you went to a salon because I don't know if you've been following this a little bit on Twitter, but one of our fellow streamer got complication with dyeing his hair. So Tyler did it by himself and it all
Oh.
failed. So he had to shave his head.
Okay. Yeah. See, the whole reason why I went to a salon to get it done is because I needed to get my hair bleached. I've never done that by myself, and I've helped friends, and I've dyed my own hair before, but like it's all been like natural colors. So I wasn't about to screw that up, and I pretty much didn't want to do what Tyler apparently did. So yeah, this is why you go and have things professionally done, especially if you don't know how to do it. I wouldn't fix my own car. I wouldn't fix my own hair. I mean, they're two different situations, but still.
Yeah, so I'm glad you went to a salon. Because being completely bald after like cutting your, imagine how that would feel.
I mean, I can already just pull my hair back and just like do this and be like, yeah, I do not like this look. And honestly, like I don't know why this happened, but I got this question a lot. It's like, why do you look like Jesse Pinkman? And I've never understood that. I don't think I ever look like the character. But if I were to shave my head, I would get that question probably a lot more. No, thank you.
Okay, good. Good. So, how did you come up with your name, Clark Elscreen?
So I had said earlier that ClarkHellscream was the first legendary that I'd opened, and that is true. But that's only part of the reason I came up with the name. In all honesty, I've played a lot of games where if you take a username, you can't, like, no one else can pick it. So if you had like Clark, or if you had like a regular name or just like a word, I was like, oh hell yeah, that's like the coolest name that you get because you're not like Logic 456 or something like that. You're just Logic. So I wanted to come up with an idea of just, to use my own name, but I needed to come up with a Twitch name, and I was like, oh God, what do I come up with? And so my last name is Hutchings, 2 syllables. Hellscream is also 2 syllables. That's really the only reason why I went full into that direction, is because it matched the same amount of syllables as my last name.
And so Clark is your real name.
Yes, that part is definitely true.
No, but it's funny. Lots of people have names that looks like Zeddy. Zeddy could
Yeah.
it could be his real name.
I mean, that'd be a weird thing to name a baby, but
Well, I know people named Zeddy. I know people.
oh, I've never met anybody named Zeddy. So.
Same with Regis.
Oh
Regis
yeah,
Kilbin.
yeah, Regis. Yeah, and I actually used to watch Regis and Kelly when I was younger, so that's also kind of funny.
Well, that's the thing on the show. He said even his mom now call him Regis.
That's just kind of the thing with like usernames or just in general. Like if you're a content creator and you have like a bunch of people that know you by that name, it's just another nickname. Like it's just a way of having familiarity. Like
Yeah.
none of my family members call me ClarkHellscream, that's for sure. But every now and again, I'll get it.
Okay. So you've been playing video games for a long time, right? Since when have you been a video game
Oh God.
person?
I cannot tell you how old I was, but one of my first memories was waking up in the middle of the night to go play Mario 64 on I think it was on the GameCube at the time, since they had like some kind of extension or whatever. But I remember being very young, turning off all the lights, sneaking through like like a freaking burglar, turning down the television all the way down so that way I could play Mario. That was like my first like really big video game, and I think I was like 6 or 7 when that happened.
Wow. Yeah. No, me it was Mario Party 2.
Yeah, I didn't have I hate to say this, I didn't have a lot of friends when I was younger, so I had to play Mario 64. But I played that. I played Super Smash Bros. Is also another game that I played very early on. I remember just playing Pikachu and just spamming down B like you usually do. But yeah, it was a lot of GameCube games that got me into it. But then when I became like a preteen teenager, it was all about PS2.
Okay. I was a Nintendo person, so.
Yeah, I played a lot of Pokemon games too. Like the first Pokemon game I ever got was Pokemon Silver, actually, and I still love the Johto region almost more than any other region.
Good. Good, good. Do you have a favorite Pokemon?
Oh man, I tend to not know the Pokemon past Gen 4. Like I played Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, and I didn't like progress further than that because I was like I don't want to play the same game. But it's really close between like, okay, I guess I'll give my favorite legendary and then my favorite Pokemon, but like I'm pretty basic. I love Arcanine. Arcanine was just always the fire type that I wanted in my team. But my favorite legendary Pokemon has to be Giratina Origin Form because I love the hell out of Pokemon Platinum. And also like essentially Dragon Satan seems like a really cool concept.
Nice. Yeah. Of course. Okay, so now if we get into Hearthstone, since when have you been playing Hearthstone?
I started in the middle of the Nox Ramus expansion or the solo content, whatever you want to refer to it as. But I pretty much started before Goblins versus Gnomes happened. So I
Okay.
was around for the Undertaker Hunter meta, and man, has that scarred me.
Yeah. Yeah, so just a little bit before me then.
Yeah, I played because of my friends. My brother tried really hard to get me into the game. I said no a lot. And then my friends were like, "Hey, you should play this." And I was like, "All right, I'm getting hit from both sides now. I got to do something." And then I ended up becoming one of the best Hearthstone players in my school. So it just kind of happened.
And what was your favorite deck at that time?
Oh, Miracle Druid. I can answer that immediately. Miracle Druid with Gadgetson. I can't remember if Malagos is in that deck, but one of my favorite Hearthstone memories during that time when I was in high school, I ended up making my own Hearthstone tournament. I pretty much invited everyone in the school that knew how to play into this tournament. We had like I think 16 people or something. It went down to the quarterfinals between my brother and I, and I ended up doing something really funny because he said that Miracle Druid was garbage and he couldn't believe why anybody would play it. And in the last round of that series, I ended up beating him with Miracle Druid with a top deck Moonfire, and it was
Wow.
utterly beautiful. And I also ended up winning that tournament too.
Uh, did
I
did he
pretty much
like
Seto Kai'd my own tournament, but yeah.
did he rage quit?
My brother, okay, so he doesn't play Hearthstone anymore, but it's not just because of that. He stopped playing when Blackrock Mountain was introduced, and he was like, "Yeah, I see the direction of this game. I'm not trying to pay money every single expansion." He's not really that big into games that require luck. He's more of a fighting game guy. He likes games that require skill, apparently. And yeah, he's always been a fighting game person, and more recently he's been playing like Monster Hunter.
Okay. Well, Hearthstone requires lots of skills.
It requires a different amount of skill. Yeah, a skill my brother apparently doesn't have.
I mean, yes. It's very different. Maybe a little bit more maths.
Yeah, I mean it's just risk assessment. It's a different form of risk assessment. Like it's really funny because it's the same skill as a lot of like casino games, but then when you take Hearthstone players to a casino, they don't do well. And you can ask a lot of people about that with like Masters Tours Vegas, for example.
Well, you say that, and Luna Love was a good poker player before playing in Hearthstone.
Well, well, that was before Hearthstone. Like she can use those skills from poker and translate them to Hearthstone, but it is so much harder to translate knowledge from Hearthstone into like poker. Like there's so much more randomness that can happen in Hearthstone, obviously, but in poker, there's just like it's either you know it or you don't, and if you don't, you get really punished. Like I wish I knew more about poker so I could talk about it, but it's just like I'm actually trying to learn it right now, and I'm still kind of struggling just to learn the fundamentals. It's all about fundamentals with card games.
Yeah, of course. Have you watched the master class of poker?
Okay, so I have never like watched it, but I remember one time where I had like a gig at a bar and there was like a world champion poker tournament going on, and I was actually like super invested in just like kind of watching and just like learning things. So I've watched it before, but I've never like actually pulled it up from like my own entertainment. But if it's on, I would definitely watch it.
Good. I mean, it's very interesting. The masterclass on poker. I've watched it. It's very good. I mean, I don't have time to play another game than Hearthstone, but but it's still very interesting, and it literally like translate to like everyday skill set. It's not just poker, but yeah.
Yeah, I something I like about watching that is trying to watch people's tells. Like that's like the I guess like the most meta thing that you can do in poker is just like try to watch your opponent and see if they like give away any information. Which is why a lot of people either like wear like sunglasses or like cover their face or something like that. Well, I guess glasses are bad because it reflects the cards, but regardless, it's all about the poker face.
Yeah. You see on stream people say that because I'm always like happy and smiley, they're like it's difficult to tell if you won or lost. So for people that don't know the game, they're like, did you win or did you lose? I'm not sure. Did you win?
Yeah, I wear my feelings on my sleeves very much so. If I'm losing the game, you will definitely know. And whenever I'm going up against Rogue, for example, like oh man, I've been complaining a lot.
Against Miracle Rogue?
Yeah, I mean rogues in general. Like I don't necessarily have a problem with the class, but I'm kind of got a problem with how many different rogue decks there are that kill you by turn 4.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do about the playstyle. It's just the fact that I'm dying by turn 4 and I'm an aggro deck and I'm the one that's supposed to be killing you by turn 4. Like it's just that. I like rogue. I love it. I love the flavor that comes with it, but I'm just tired of dying to it all the time. Just yeah, that's really it.
I understand. So, you've been playing Hearthstone for a while. Do you have a favorite art, like a favorite art on a card, or a favorite skin?
I mean, I'm really not someone who cares much about cosmetics, but I will say that the Arthas Paladin skin, I've been rocking that essentially since I unlocked it, and I'm one of those types of people to where it's like I have my favorite on my class, so like I have like Deathwing on my warrior, for example. I've got N'Zoth on my warlock, etc., etc. But I never change it unless a better portrait comes around, and then I just rock that portrait. I kind of understand when like people put like different mage skins for different kinds of decks, but at the same time, that kind of gives information to your opponent if they're actually paying attention to that kind of thing. It doesn't matter on an actual level, but regardless, I just rock one skin. I would say that probably Arthas is my favorite. Favorite card art? That's a little bit difficult. I would say that it probably has to be Uther of the Ebon Blade. Like, that's also one of my favorite cards, but I love all of the Death Knights, both for flavor, for how they look, and how they actually feel to play. Like, Death Knights was one of my favorite thing of Hearthstone, which is why I'm trying to main the new class.
Okay, good. That's a good choice. That's a good one. Okay, so you've been playing Hearthstone since almost the beginning, and what about streaming? Since when have you
Oh,
been streaming? And
when
I'm pretty sure you're doing it full time now, right?
full time. But yeah, I would say that. Oh man, I actually need to remember when was my first stream. I remember streaming a lot when Vile Spine was a thing. So I think it was right around Ungoro, actually. Yeah, around Ungoro sounds about right. Because one of my first, like one of my favorite things that I've done through streaming was when I did TESPA, the Collegiate Hearthstone League. I ended up getting on one of the streams with two of my friends at the time, and we were playing Quest Mage when it was like first introduced. So it was like kind of a meme, kind of like people were starting to figure it out, and we ended up doing the Sorcerer's Apprentice Infinite Fireball combo with Archmage Tony, and we were able to do that once, and that was like the biggest highlight that we had. But unfortunately, we ended up losing the series 2 and 3 because it was Evolve Shaman mirrors, and man, Evolve Shaman was just one of the most ridiculously like you either get lucky or you don't decks. Um, but yeah, I've been streaming, I guess, since the Ungoro period, but I really didn't like actually start taking it seriously and making like YouTube content until about, I think it was around Rise of Shadows. I actually can't remember exactly when I made my first YouTube video, but I know what I made my first YouTube video on. It was actually that misplay in the collegiate series in that 2-2 set. Like I ended up like going through it, being like, this is why I made this play, trying to justify it essentially.
Ah, okay, interesting, interesting. And so how long would it be if it's since then? It's like 4 years.
Just about, yeah, like 3 or
Yeah.
4 years. Like yeah, I was actually like doing Hearthstone content when I was technically at Ball State, and that was around like 2017, 2018. Like
Okay.
yeah, so it's been a minute.
What
I went to
was
my first tournament in 2017, so it was around that time, I guess.
okay? Good. I mean, it's been a long time. You're kind of an OG, I would say.
Okay, I would say so at this point. Like maybe not original, like Carparian, for example, but I'm definitely well known at this point. I mean, I would hope so.
What was the scene when you got into streaming? Were the big ones when you
Oh
got?
man. It was Kripparrian, Firebat, Kibler. I think RDU was also really popular at the time. I would say that like the first three were like the big content creators that I was watching at the time. I was a really big Omnistone fan. Like Frodan, another great person I would
Yeah.
always try to catch up on. But it was actually like the content creator that actually got me into making legitimate like YouTube content was actually Dexter, and that was like way after like I was like watching a lot of Hearthstone content. But I would say that when I was watching like Kripparrian and Kibler, those were like the people that I tried to mimic with my content at first. So I like to play like control decks, decks that honestly anything that isn't aggro. I was not that big on the aggro decks when I was first playing, but I used a lot of their content for inspiration to get started. And then Dexter was like that last push where I was like, all right, we're doing YouTube content now.
Nice. Was there and when did you decide to do it full time?
That had to be
COVID?
2019. It was actually just before COVID.
Okay.
Like I was juggling working at a guitar center, call center, while doing that kind of content at the time, because before it was just like something I was kind of doing on the side, kind of being legitimate about it. Okay, I shouldn't say legitimate. I was like actually just doing the work though. But when I had my job, I was kind of juggling both. But then when COVID happened, they moved us to our houses. They made us work from home, and with that job in particular, I really needed the group that was around me. So I ended up leaving and started doing content.
Okay. So COVID was kind of a push.
Yeah, it was definitely a push to be more serious about it and to like kind of up the quality. Because at the time, I mean, I'm still kind of like following the same formulas that I originally was. But I'm a lot more nitpicky about certain details with my content now than I used to be.
Okay, good. Good, good. Um, so now that you've been streaming kind of full time, like what are the hardest thing about it that you've encountered so far?
The hardest thing about streaming is just the consistency, dude. Like, I've been in the scene for so long, but if you look at my track record at streaming, I'm like, there's lots of times where I'll take like a week off and not tell anybody, and it's just because like I don't have any ideas of what to stream, or I'm like sick of the meta or whatever like that. The hardest thing about streaming, when you make it a legitimate job, is playing when you don't want to play and just trying to come up with a way to make different kinds of content that isn't just, oh, check out this deck, check out the meta, this is what is really good right now. Like, the hardest part about Hearthstone content is making it appeal to everybody, even if they don't understand the card game. And a great example of that, obviously, is Rarin. So that's kind of been like my driving force, is to not just be limited to whatever is going on in Hearthstone at the time, but I could still make a video and people will understand what's going on.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure, Raren makes great content.
Jeff's kiss.
Okay, so do you have any, if we don't talk just about the consistency, but for anyone that wants to start streaming, do you have any like tips or things you want to put out there so people can be like more like well informed about before making a decision like that?
I would say that if someone is interested in streaming and they want to figure out if it's right for them, literally just try it, but actually get like your friends in, like chatting with you. The biggest thing about streaming that a lot of people find very, I guess, like what prevents them from doing it is, oh god, I won't have viewership, no one's gonna watch me, I'm just gonna essentially be playing video games by myself, sort of thing. So if you would just invite your friends to every now and again say something in chat, or to actually be a part of the experience, it makes it to where you can see what streaming has to provide you. And then when you do it more, you'll have like more viewers, more chatters, that sort of thing. But it's always like that first, like essentially jumping into the pool. Like, you don't want to be really cold, but you gotta do it at some point if you're gonna jump in the pool, sort of thing. So why not do it with friends with friends nearby?
I agree 100%. That is a very good tip.
Yeah, because I just did it because I was like, I'm gonna play Hearthstone ladder for 6 hours anyway. I might as well stream it.
I agree. I would have like same thing for me. I would have played Hearthstone every day for like years without knowing there was a community or anything. And I feel that it's so good to like meet people that like the same thing as you. It makes you feel a little less lonely sometimes.
Yeah, like, and that was something else I really liked about making content, was eventually being able to meet the people that I've admired for so long. Like, I remember when I first met a bunch of casters for the first time. It was actually my first tournament. I ended up seeing Cora before she became a game designer, where she was still doing casting. I saw Noxious, who really isn't in the Hearthstone scene anymore, but he's still like doing Magic the Gathering stuff. There was Lorenda, and there was one more. Oh yeah, there's Dr. Jinkininki, if anybody remembers him. Those were the four casters. Oh wait, and there was also That's Admirable. I cannot forget That's Admirable. He was such a blast to meet IRL. But then when I got to meet like all of the other players, for example, the very first pro player that I approached and asked questions to was actually Just Saying. And when he pretty much gave me the most simple advice, where it's like, oh yeah, I guess I never thought of it that way, when really I knew the answer he was telling me. Like, I was like, wow, these guys are just like me.
For sure, for sure. And like meeting people in real, it's so like some people they kind of like don't look the way you think they're gonna look. They're like smaller or like taller or
Just Saying was like literally 6'4". The dude was a mountain. He's huge. And it kind of unsettled me, because I'm just like, damn, you are way taller than I thought you were. Kind of like with like oh god, I think there was one Hearthstone creator I met that was like really short, and I wasn't expecting it. Oh wait, it was Steffi. It was Steffi from the THL League, actually. I remember meeting her, and she was a lot smaller than I was expecting.
Yeah, no, it's always super interesting to like see, and also I feel that surprisingly, lots of streamer are introverted. So like
Yeah,
they're introverts. So when you meet them in real, they like don't really talk or say anything, and
there are definitely people like that, but I feel like there's a lot of people in the Hearthstone community where it's like you talk to them for 5 minutes and then you can't get them to shut up afterwards. I'm definitely one of those people. I'm reserved until you start talking to me, as most people can assume because I've been talking a lot through this.
no, for sure there was like both, but just for me, it's like so it was such a shock that someone that is like that looks outgoing and talks on the camera for hours. When you meet them in real, they're shy and they don't really say anything.
Yeah, I guess it also just depends. There's the people that are on camera for like 8-10 hours a day. Then afterwards, they just want to be left alone.
Yes, indeed, indeed. So I didn't see you at either of the TwitchCon this year.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason I didn't go to TwitchCon was because it was either go to TwitchCon or go to France. I've never been to Europe before. France won it out.
Well, you could have come to Amsterdam then and do a trip to
Oh,
France.
I probably could have done that. I didn't think about that at the time. I think I was preoccupied with other things. I think there was actually one of the TwitchCons I had a gig. I remember that specifically. But yeah, I just haven't actually thought about TwitchCon before. Usually, if it doesn't have Hearthstone, it's kind of hard for me to get enthusiastic about it. But I mean, it is TwitchCon. I've never been to a convention like that before. I definitely
Well, there was a big
need to consider
part
it.
that was Hearthstone actually
Oh, both in Amsterdam,
in
or
Amsterdam.
okay,
There was
is it?
the Thai's Tavern, literally, and there.
Oh wait, no, that was there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think okay. I think I remember looking up the information about that, but then I needed an EU collection, and I didn't have cards on EU. So I actually, even if I ended up going and trying to participate, I literally would have to also buy cards in addition to everything else to actually compete. So I think that actually might be the reason why I didn't go. I do remember that Tice Tavern, and I remember being mad that I couldn't play in it.
well, that's why I grind both server now. Just the fact to play and just get free cards every month, just for
Yeah.
being legend. You should just try and like start.
I mean, I've got the cards for Implock. If I really wanted to climb up EU right now, I could. Like, I ended up making
You
4 decks for
should.
the France trip. Actually, I made Naga Priest, Ping Mage, Imp Warlock, and some other deck that I can't remember. Oh wait, it was Edwin Miracle Rogue. But yeah, I remember originally wanting to like climb like multiple servers, but then when I could barely like keep one server above 1,000, that's when I was like, all right, screw this. But I've actually qualified on the Asia server before, for like a big tournament. I think I got like rank 15 or 10 or something like that one time.
Well, maybe you should continue.
I might need to. That was back when Burn Shaman was a thing, though. I miss those days.
Oh my God, Burn Shaman. Okay.
Yeah, that was the oh god, that was the one with the phoenixes in the deck.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, about last year.
Oh my God, it's difficult to remember exactly when, but I remember that deck vividly.
I just remember doing the math a lot.
Yes. Okay, so you were talking a little bit about your brother earlier on. So, what is your family context? Your like, tell us a little bit more about um, where you live, like who's your siblings, etc.
So I live in Indianapolis. Pretty much the only part of Indiana really worth visiting, in all honesty. Um, but yeah, I've got a brother. I've got a half sister who is 9, almost 10 years old now. Oh my god, I can't believe this girl is almost 10 now. My mom and my dad ended up getting divorced when I was younger, so I also have a stepmom. She's the one that takes care of my half sister. But aside from that, like, really don't have that many that many members of my family that I actively see outside of like holidays and stuff like that. I've got a really big extended family on my grandma's side because my grandma was one of like 7 children in an Italian family. So I think you could do the math on that. But yeah, there was like my family's been just kind of condensed with it was just like my mom and my dad.
Do you see your
But
brother often?
yeah, he so he's 1 year younger than me. One thing funny about my brother and I was born on August 20th, 1996. He was born August 19th, 1997. So we're almost 1 year apart exactly.
Wow.
So he is actually, I would say, quote unquote successful. He's got a full-time job as a what exactly does he do now? He used to install shower glass, but now he's like the guy you'd call in order to book the appointment, sort of thing. He's pretty much the only reason why the company he works for is even organized. So he handles a lot of like customer service and talking with manufacturers and going back and forth, that sort of thing. Um, but my brother originally wanted to be a stand-up comedian, so you can kind of see where we kind of differ. He went down the more legitimate path, and I went down the passion path a little bit.
But you should try it on Twitch.
I mean, doing stand-up comedy on Twitch would be kind of interesting, in all honesty.
Yeah.
But he's never done the Twitch streaming or anything like that. He's been curious about it, but he's never like actually taken the steps for it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess it always takes one in the family to follow one path and one to follow the other.
He's essentially on the path of make money, have fun later. Because right now he actually owns a condo. He owns it, or at least he's paying it off to where he will own it soon. And he just recently bought now I shouldn't say a new car, but his old car crapped out and he had to get a used one, so he bought a new used car. And my brother is essentially just checking off like all of the adult budget lift stuff, and it's just like I'm just playing Hearthstone at the end of the day.
You play a children card game.
Exactly. I've got the Yu-Gi-Oh memorabilia all around here, so it's already proving it.
So, do you consider yourself not an adult?
It's not that I don't consider myself an adult, but it's like I look at what other adults are doing, and it's like, dude, I have it so easy, or at least I have a less stressful life. And even though I feel like I'm stressed all the time, it's just one of those things where it's like I'm always like, oh, this guy works a 9 to 5, and I'm playing Hearthstone, and I still can't. I can't get myself to stream this game today, sort of thing. Like, it's one of those things where it's like I feel like I need to get over it, but at the same time, every problem is legitimate. Everyone has their processes, yada yada yada. But at the same time, people that go off and like roof houses for like 9 to 5, they look at my life and they're like, "Wow, you look like you're enjoying yourself. Are you having fun at least?"
Well, yeah. I mean, it's important to have fun.
Yeah. I wouldn't do this if I wasn't having fun. I absolutely love card games, and the thing that keeps me coming back with Hearthstone is just every day you damn near learn something new. Like interaction wise, deck wise, like you figure out a new archetype you maybe didn't enjoy previously. Like there's always something new to find if you can like go off and explore and find it, sort of thing.
And if you were not playing Hearthstone, what would you be playing?
Oh man. So recently I've been playing. This is actually thanks to Ridiculous Hat. I've been playing Vampire Survivors. For those who don't know, it's essentially like a raid boss game where like you are the raid boss, but you have like a bunch of vampires and ghouls and stuff that are trying to kill you. You kill them, you get like these little gems that give you experience, and then every time you level up, you get to like choose a power up or increase the level of a power up, sort of thing. So that game is a lot of fun. I play on my PS4 a lot as well. Like especially when I'm done like editing videos. Whenever I'm done editing videos, I will sometimes play Spider-Man. One of my favorite games of all time is Kingdom Hearts 2, and I still actively play that game today. Those are pretty much all the big games. I tried playing Overwatch when it came out, but the problem that I have with Overwatch is if I don't have friends that I'm playing with, it's absolutely an unplayable experience in my opinion. I cannot solo queue. I am not that brave.
Okay. Um, And okay, so I think you have a significant other, right?
Not no,
No?
it complicated. Pass question. I'm kind of going through it at the moment in not a good way. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay. So, ladies, someone else is on the market.
Yeah, someone who plays Hearthstone.
Okay, good.
That'll be on the application. Do you know what Maelstrom Portal is?
Yeah. No, but I because I checked your social and you were talking about her, so I thought um I thought you guys were together.
Yeah,
But
it's awkward. Well, it's complicated as they would say.
it's okay. It's okay. You're allowed to. Okay, so now we're before we get into chat questions, we are getting into the crazy part of the interview where we talk about food.
Ooh, okay. I come like I said, I come from an Italian family. Food is extremely important to us.
Perfect.
Literally, like case in point to kind of show you what to expect. My family every year for Christmas, we don't make a ham, we don't make a turkey. No, we make a Christmas lasagna made from scratch. Takes the entire day to make. Mm. It's what gets me through every single year. I'm not even kidding. I love the Christmas lasagna that my family makes.
That is a very good idea. I will try that one day, but not on Christmas because we're very traditional. But yes, on like one of the Christmas days. We have
Yeah.
4 Christmases, so like
Oh, whoa. Like you personally have 4 Christmases because you celebrate it 4 times, or like where you're from?
no, just me, not from where I'm from, but it's just like with one side of the family. My parents are not separated, but it's just one side of the family, the other side of the family with your
Yeah.
siblings. Like it just so it ends up being 4.
Yeah, it pretty much becomes like a fight of who gets to host Christmas. Like, screw it, well, I'll host Christmas. We'll make it a weekend.
I've never hosted Christmas, I must say. I've never hosted.
Do you have your own house?
I my own condo, yes.
Ah, that's the only reason why my brother doesn't do holidays is because he's like, yeah, I don't wanna make my other condo neighbors upset.
Oh, but yeah, people in chat call it the castle. So yes, in the castle, the thing is, my neighbors are super sweet. My neighbor on the side, she is always at her. In Canada, we like it's common to have like a country house, like a chalet, we call it, which is like in the woods, and then you have your apartment downtown. So most people like do both, and with the pandemic it's like you can work from home, so you can work from like the woods a little bit. So she's always in the woods. So she's not
Fun.
gonna do anything, and the other family is Jewish and they don't celebrate Christmas, and they usually go to Florida. So they wouldn't be very upset with me hosting something here.
I mean, hey, Jewish people do have a Christmas tradition. They go to Chinese restaurants because they don't close during Christmas. That's like
That's
something that
true.
I actually have a friend of mine that's Jewish and they do that. So
So yes, I do have Jewish friends that celebrate Christmas. Like they don't celebrate it in the way of like Christmas tradition, but they do something like
yeah,
family wise that day.
yeah, my grandma was very traditional and always made me go to mass, even if I didn't want to go. She would always take me. She was one of those people that only went during like Easter and Christmas, but she would go Easter and Christmas. You would not
Wow,
talk.
I've never been to the mess. Yeah, and I've been to the synagogue more than the church in my life. So
I actually have been to a synagogue. I've seen a bar mitzvah happen in
yeah.
person,
Well,
and
that's all the reasons why I would go to a synagogue. All my Jewish friends with their bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah.
yeah, it's really interesting to see that ceremony. In all honesty, like they just there's not a lot of I mean, there's like confirmation for like Catholics or whatever, but it's not like they take it as seriously as like a bar mitzvah. It's like as a bar mitzvah, you are now a man or a woman, or I guess in a bat mitzvah.
Yeah,
But regardless, it's just really interesting to see the differences in those kind of cultures. One kind of
definitely.
takes their kids more seriously, I would say.
But I think one of the thing I like is like for kids, it's like so fun that like for them, the synagogue is like a symbol of fun. It's not a symbol of but we have well in Canada the situation is a little bit different than the state, but most people don't believe in anything. In Quebec, for example, so no one would go to like if you're like born and raised here, people they don't believe in anything.
Yeah, honestly, I would say I'm in that boat. Like, I am technically agnostic. Like, I believe there's something going on, but we're not gonna figure it out in our lifetime. Like, I'm just gonna try and not hurt anybody on my way to the afterlife. That's kind of my only motto. Be
Exactly.
nice, and people will be nice to you.
Exactly. And frankly, like I don't mind people that believe, people that don't believe. Like for me, it's like there shouldn't be like conflict related to that, which I feel
The moment you start picketing and you're holding signs up, you're the problem. Okay, that's when you're doing that for religious reasons. I think that's when it's just come on, man. You don't need to stand outside and make yourself a fool. That's all I have to say. I had to deal with that unfortunately a lot during like when I was in college. They literally would tell college students, do not engage with these individuals because some of them are trying to get a reaction out of you. And if you were to like, get into a physical altercation or something with them, they actually have grounds to sue the university. So that's why some people did it. But unfortunately, when you have, like college kids that are very passionate and will react to things more than think about things, sometimes it gets out of hand.
understandable. But yes, let's not get into the religious
Yeah.
discussion.
You were
It's
talking about questions, I think.
yeah. It's really not a debate here in Canada. People like, especially in Quebec, it's not a religion is not a debate. So like we would never have that conversation at a dinner. When I go to my friends in the US, that's a different story. You need to pick a side. You need to pick...
It's very us versus them, and that's actually something I don't like about the United States. I will say right now, one of the most interesting conversations that I had was with the owner of the Meltdown in Quebec, and we were mostly talking about like the differences between Canadians and the differences between Americans. And one big difference we were talking about was how in Canada, if you can't pay your heating bill during the winter, they're literally not allowed to turn it off because you would quite literally die. And
Exactly.
I feel like even in America, if that was a thing, no, they would turn off your power. They don't fucking.
No, that's true. That's true.
But yeah,
Uh,
that different conversation for another day, I guess.
but we're very socialists. Like we pay half of our salary and taxes, and I mean it's a little bit more like the Scandinavian countries, Canada.
Yeah, I mean,
So Quebec in particular were even more intensely than the rest of Canada, but even Canada in general.
yeah, at least you guys have healthcare. That's all I'm jealous about.
Well, you see, during Heart to Heart, I was able to discover a lot of things about Americans with healthcare, especially related to like when you get pregnant and you want to go to the hospital to give birth. It costs like they tell you before, okay, so that's gonna cost this, and you need to pay it in that amount of time, and it's like crazy amounts of dollars. Like here,
Are you
it's free. Like you go to the
are you
hospital and they take you in the emergency room, not like we need to make sure you're gonna pay before.
yeah, are you familiar with like the concept in America where if you get a hospital bill and you end up like asking questions about it, like for example, if you look at like the itemized receipt and you notice that they give you like literally $400 for like a band-aid, you can actually point that out and they will take it off. It's really annoying because a lot of people don't know this, but if you ask questions about your bill, they will literally lower it for you because they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. It's impossible not to know, and it's very scummy in my opinion. But welcome to America.
But in both cases, like people here abuse the system. They like go to the emergency room every day for like a headache. So like I mean, you
Yeah,
have you,
that's true.
so anyways, nothing is perfect. One side or the other, you're gonna. But still, for me, I just didn't know that at almost 31 years old. So I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
I
I would say that it kind of like One thing that really sucks about not having like that kind of care available is that a lot of people, like for example, guys will just be like, "Oh, I could just sleep it off," even if it's like a really big problem. And I find myself doing this a lot too. I hate the idea of going to the emergency room because who knows what could happen. But yeah.
So yes, and the food question. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you the two things, and you can say which one you prefer, and you can elaborate a little bit more. If you like the other option, you can also say I like both, or I really really despise the other. So it's a very like quick one. Okay, so I send you a
Okay.
question. It's tac au tac. That would say in French. Okay, so coffee or tea?
Ooh, have to go with a neither actually. I am not
Neither.
a yeah, I know it's really weird. A lot of people make fun of me for this, or like, how can you do that? But tea is usually too bitter for me, and coffee, I can drink it, but then the aftertaste of coffee absolutely ruins it for me. I love the smell of it. I don't mind being in a coffee shop, but I cannot drink coffee. I have tried several times and cannot get into it. If I need energy, I unfortunately have to drink G Fuel, and I'm not really a big fan of G Fuel in all honesty.
So when you go to a coffee shop, what do you take?
I just get a hot chocolate.
Okay.
Whenever anyone is like, "Hey, you want something from Starbucks?" I'm like, "No," and everyone is like, "What?" Like they literally can't believe I'm turning down Starbucks, and it's like, I don't like coffee. I don't want you to spend $5 on a hot chocolate.
Oh, it's
Like,
$7 now.
oh, yeah, no, I'm good. I'll save you some money, man. Just get what you need. I know a lot of people make it their daily thing, but not me. I can't drink either, unfortunately.
Okay, well that's good. I mean, I like to drink hot beverages, so like, I cannot imagine someone that would not like to warm yourself up. Just I don't know.
Yeah, I drink. I'm trying to cut back on sodas, but I drink a lot of juices, a lot of milk, and sodas. I've also been drinking a lot of water just because if I've been really trying to cut back from soda, so I just drink a lot of water to try and counteract that. But it's the sugar. The sugar is my weakness.
Well, that gives you energy, so that kind of works. Like, if you drink Coca-Cola, you get the caffeine and the sugar. So yeah.
That actually was something I learned when I was in France, though. Like I didn't realize like how different products of the same products could be overseas. Like I tried a Coke in France, and it actually tasted like it tasted significantly better in terms of like I could literally taste it was less processed. And it's because it was actual sugar cane. It wasn't like whatever sweeteners they use over here.
Crazy, yeah.
Very crazy.
Um, okay, so uh, vegetable or fruits?
Fruits. I love fruits. I'm not that big into vegetables in all honesty. My
Really?
favorite fruit.
Top
I love
three.
bananas and I love oranges.
And the third one?
Top three. Ooh, probably just apples. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of like smoothies and stuff like that, but usually I could just eat fruits by themselves. I don't like mangoes or like tropical fruits, for example. Like I'm
You
not really
don't
that big
like
into
tropical
melons.
fruits?
They're a bit like
Too
the
sweet?
sweetness is there, but there's like this tang that just doesn't agree with me. I really don't know how else to describe it. It just doesn't agree with me, unfortunately.
What about kiwis?
Uh, actually can't remember the last time I had a kiwi, in all honesty. So I'd have to say I actually don't know. I'd have to try one again. I think the
Okay.
last time I ate a kiwi was like literally grade school.
Clark, come on, Clark.
I'm not giving you a lot to work with, I know.
Where have you been, like, hiding under a rock?
I eat a lot of the same things, unfortunately. I'm very simple to please.
Oh. Do you drink wine?
I've actually been drinking a lot more wine this past year. I'm not really that big into like drinking because I hate coming back from like hangovers and stuff like that. I would rather recover from actually I can't think of an example right now, but I am not that big into like recovering from hangovers. So I try to drink wine with my family because they're Italian and wine is very very important in the Italian household. I'll tell you that much. And if I try to keep up with them, it does not go well. Wine also makes me very sleepy. So if I drink like more than one glass, I'm gonna be like fading in and out.
And do you have a preference, red or white?
Red, 100%. Red wine is the real wine. White wine is it's not that it's bad, but there's just a certain thing about red wine that like pairs perfectly with like food, for example. Like white wine, I feel like is something you just drink by itself. But if you're having like pasta or like a bunch of like bread to go with like your meal, perfect glass of red wine goes with it.
Okay, well, I'm telling you, there's lots of good food that goes with white wine, like a white fish, or like
True.
a pasta that is more lemony, some minerality in the white, and goes well.
Are you big into red or white yourself?
I like both. I would say if I had the choice and I could only pick one, it would be red, definitely. But I do like both depending on what I eat.
Yeah, I eat
Like
a
oysters,
lot of red meats, so
like you
I
cannot,
think red pairs well.
yeah, you cannot get like red one with oysters. So oysters are a big part of my diet. So
I actually had oysters not too long ago, but before that time, I was like years before I had oysters, and it's just because like, unfortunately, a lot of my friends and people that I hang out with don't really like seafood. I'm like, oh, I love seafood, dude,
who doesn't like
love it.
seafood?
Uh, my uh my sister actually, I don't think she likes seafood right now, but she's freaking 9, 10. She doesn't understand. She doesn't get it yet.
Okay, fair enough. Do you like beer?
I would say that if I'm drinking, I'm probably drinking a beer. I'm not really big into like breweries or like, oh man, check out this IPA. Like, nah, I just drink lagers usually. My go-to beer is Stella Artois. That's my go-to beer. I
Good
actually have
choice.
I have a Stella glass in the other room actually. So
It's a good
full circle
choice.
on that.
It's funny because I bought Stella this week.
Yeah, it's a great beer for any occasion. I mean, they've been making it since like what, like 1337. You got to trust that.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, and do you like cheese?
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely big into cheese. A lot well, I hate to say it, but almost every like lunch or dinner that I have some sort of cheese in it. Like, I mean, I'm big into pizza, I'm big into Mexican food, and I'm big into well, I guess Chinese food doesn't really have that many like cheeses and stuff like that. But usually whatever I'm eating has some kind of cheese on it. You should ask Ridiculous Hat what his opinion on cheeses are, by the way, if you ever get a chance.
We did. It's on Hot
Oh,
to
good,
Heart.
good, good.
We did. I'm probably the biggest fan of cheese in the world, or at least in the Hearthstone community.
Yeah, dude.
So I do ask that question every day.
Yeah, I would say that like I don't really have like a favorite cheese, but just like nacho cheese, like I'm really big into Taco Bell at times. Speaking of Ridiculous Hat, he would hate this conversation. But yeah, nacho cheese goes really well with a lot of things, but I also like I mean mozzarella goes very well with like, pizzas, Italian dishes and stuff like that. And there'll be lots of mozzarella and ricotta in the Italian Christmas lasagna that I'm going to have pretty soon.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
looking
And
forward to that.
so that would be your top three cheese that you like?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I wouldn't put nacho cheese up there just because it would be a disservice to all the other cheeses. But I would say, yeah, ricotta, Parmesan, and I guess mozzarella, just because it's hard to say something that doesn't have mozzarella in it.
Good choices. Also, I don't know if you know, but nacho cheese is a mix of cheese.
Yes, that is true. I know that it's not quote unquote real cheese, but man, does it does it feel good going down?
My mom would agree with you. She buys nacho cheeses all the time. She puts
Yeah,
it on all the soups. She's really into nacho.
soups.
Yes, it for her it goes well with soup
Okay.
or
I
on
would have been
nachos.
like, I would have been like, yeah, nachos are like Mexican food. Like I'm really big into Mexican food. Like I probably eat too much of it.
I love Mexican food. You would have loved it at TwitchCon San Diego, by the way. lots of Mexican influence.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've had Mexican food from Texas and from California before. Oh, there's no beating it, man. There's not like I live in a pretty decent area where there's a lot of like Mexican places, but it's kind of hit or miss on if they do like, Americanized version of Mexican food or if they do like legitimate Mexican food.
What is your go-to when you order in?
Burritos. I get like a steak burrito a lot.
Good from where?
Oh, from where? Oh, if we're talking like chains, okay, I thought that was just like
Yeah,
just
yeah, oh, that was the
good
question.
restaurants
That's
in
the next
general.
question.
Oh, sorry. So, what's my go-to order from like a restaurant? Like just a
So yeah, it's a burrito, but like, do you have a favorite place that you, even if it's not a chain, like a favorite place you order from?
I see. I mean, there's actually this place right down the street that's just called Caesar's Tacos. That dude's really nice. I've had a couple conversations with him just because it takes a minute to make the food. Um, but yeah, I actually really like going into different kinds of like like mom and pop Mexican foods, Mexican places and stuff like that. But for chains, I go to Qdoba a decent amount of times, like
What?
especially with like my bandmates. I don't do that a
I
lot,
thought that, what's the
but
name?
oh, Qdoba. You
Kidoba? How do you
yeah,
spell
do you
that?
have that in Canada?
No.
It's
I've never heard of that.
Quoda, I think, something like that.
It's a real chain.
It's a real chain. Do you guys have Chipotle up there at
Yeah.
all, by chance?
Well,
Yeah.
but not in Quebec. We have it in the Toronto and Ontario.
So it's like the how do I say? It's like the competitor to them, I would say. But
Yes.
there's like this big thing where it's like Qdoba or Chipotle, and it says a lot about you, kind of thing. And it's just like I don't care, just put it in my mouth.
Okay. Good. Good.
But yeah, I'm really big into like burritos and like rice bowls. Those are my go-to things.
Good choice. I love that too. Okay. If you were to cook a romantic dinner to your future person, what would you cook to impress the other person?
Oh man, I mean, I've been talking a lot about Italian food, but there's a reason why you take your significant other to a nice Italian restaurant if you want to do something romantic. So, probably what I would do, huh? I mean, what I used to do was literally just spaghetti and meatballs with garlic bread, but like I would do everything myself. But like unfortunately, the person I used to date didn't really eat meat, so I would just usually do regular spaghetti. So in a world where where I'm dating someone who doesn't have any dietary restrictions, I would probably do some sort of Italian dish, most likely either spaghetti or maybe I guess I would make the lasagna. In all honesty, I would just make the lasagna and be like, this is my grandma's recipe, you know. And if I feel like I showed the family roots, I'd get bonus points.
Have you ever done it by yourself?
I have never cooked that lasagna by myself, and that's because it's like a 7-8 hour It is an all day process to make authentic sauce. The sauce is what takes so long, man. I remember my grandma being like, "Oh God, I have to make the sauce all day. I don't have time to do anything." I'm like, "Grandma, how long does it take?" She's like, "10 hours." And I'm like, "What?" Or something along those lines. Like it takes an obscenely ridiculous amount of time to make from scratch pasta sauce.
I make some, so I know I it usually doesn't. I usually do it for 5 hours, but I mean, I have no one Italian in my family, so I just learned from the internet.
Yeah, I wish I know how she did it, but she put like a lot of like pork. She would usually cook it with pork. Like, oh my God, it goes so well together, man. There's actually something that happened to me when I was in France. I ended up going to a typical like nice French cuisine restaurant, and they had Italian beef tartare on the menu. And in case anyone in chat doesn't know what tartare is, it's pretty much like the rarest that you could cook meat. It's pretty much like they're bringing you out like raw meat, damn near.
It is raw meat tartar.
Yeah,
It means it's
yeah.
not cooked.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. Yeah. It's pretty much like the rawest way that you could enjoy meat. and I kid you not, I took a bite and I legitimately had like a Ratatouille moment where I had a flashback back to my grandma's house trying like her food or something like that. It was ridiculous how I had that exact kind of moment in Paris, France of all places.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it
food is very important to me.
it's funny that you mentioned that about tartare because us it's so like here in Quebec we have lots of French influence. So for us, tartare is like an everyday like we eat tartare very often, but like lots of my American friends were like, but tartare is it a sauce or something like like for us it's like saying like steak and egg. Like for us tartare is like something you would put in your everyday routine in your every week routine. Like it's not something special. So I was very like surprised that, well, Americans are also a little bit like concerned with raw food.
Yeah.
So I mean in the States when you order something that is raw or even like blue medium rare, they would put like a notice at the bottom
Yeah.
of the
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like I think to the tartar comment, like there's like tartar sauce. I think some people are like, "Oh, is that where that comes from?" Sort of. That's probably what they thought. Um, but yeah, it's just it's super funny the differences that that Americans pick up on. I got made fun of a lot for like little differences when I was in France, and one thing that happened a lot was when people knew that I wasn't good at geography, they kept like holding up maps, being like, "Hey, where's this country?" And I'm like, "I decline these. I decline these questions. I do not wish to prove how American I actually am."
Oh my god, yeah, typical people do that with Americans all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, they like to make fun of them. How much do you know? Look at this map.
Do you like spicy food?
Ooh, I love it. It took me a minute to get into it, but I love spicy food. If it comes down to like getting like a chicken sandwich or getting a spicy chicken sandwich, I always go with spicy.
That's a good one. That's good. Okay, so now we get into the you got into the food part of the interview. So congrats, you survived. But we have some chat questions for you before we let
Okay.
you go. Okay, first question. What is the top 5 countries you would like to visit?
Ooh, okay. So I've actually been pondering this a lot recently, and it's because I keep asking myself the ultimate question, like where do I want to live? Like I've when I was in France, I was able to meet someone who literally said that like they lived in America, then they lived in somewhere in Europe, and then they ended up like going back to America, and now they're going back to Europe. And I'm like, I would love to be able to do something like that. So the places that I would love to visit and potentially even like live would be, I definitely want to go to Italy for obvious reasons. I'd love to visit Japan. I would love to visit. I would like to visit England as well. I would like to go back to France, but I guess I shouldn't put that on my list because I've already been there. I would also like to go back to Canada, specifically to Montreal, because that was one of my
Yay!
favorite places ever. But I would also like to visit other parts of Canada as well, just because I haven't been there before. But I guess, yeah, so Italy, Japan, England. I would like to go back to Canada, and guess what would be number 5? I've also went to Mexico once, so I'd actually kind of like to go back there as well, because one thing I really like is oceans. I love beaches. I love being able to see the ocean. And when I was in Mexico, I was in Cabo, and just being able to stand with my feet in the ocean was best part of the entire vacation.
Maybe you should just move to the coast.
I've been thinking about that, but it's very expensive. The only reason why I'm here in Indiana is because it's literally like top 5 cheapest states to live in. Property here is ridiculously cheap to where people who live like at like the middle class level literally come to Indiana to buy property so that way they can live at a higher standard of life because it's just so cheap.
Can you give us an example of that?
An example of
Like of how cheap it is, like so we can compare it to like other
oh
states.
god.
Like
I wish I could give like a number.
But
But it's
like,
like the reason why it's so cheap is because loans are very easy to get here.
okay,
There's a lot of law. I wish I could explain the laws that surround it, but there's also another reason why a lot of like businesses have like some like HQ or some kind of business office here for tax reasons. There's a lot of tax stuff that goes into it. I wish I could explain it, but it's a very hot market in Indiana to buy property and then flip it.
okay, interesting, very interesting. What was the last book you read?
Oh no. Oh no. What was the last book I read? Oh no. Hold on a minute. That actually might be a hard question. I really don't read all too much. Um I actually think the last time I read a book was because of college, in all honesty, and I couldn't even tell you. Could I tell you one of my favorite books instead?
Yes, yes, go for it, go for it.
Okay. So one of my favorite series ever is actually the series of unfortunate events by Lemony Snicket. Um, I was forced to read books in grade school because we had this thing called accelerated reading. And the way that they knew that you read the book is that you had to take a test afterwards. So you actually had to read the entire thing because they would ask you questions from like chapter 1 and then they'd skip to like chapter 7 or something like that. So I ended up reading the entire series because I was really into it, and I ended up finishing the series in like less than a year because I just loved everything about it. And if you guys don't have the patience for the books, there is a movie and there is a show. The movie, don't watch the movie. It's the one with Jim Carrey. They do a very bad job at adapting it. But the Netflix adaptation is so spot on to the original script. It's nuts. They have like a few like like pop culture references and stuff like that, but it is ridiculous like how to the T of, or like how much detail that they paid attention to when making that show. Highly recommended to anybody.
Is it the same name for both?
Yes, a series of unfortunate events. It was produced by Neil Patrick Harris, and he
Okay.
actually plays the main villain, and he does such a amazingly good job playing him. He's such like this character is very animated and very like I guess bombastic and like cartoonishly evil to a degree, and he just does such a good job of giving him that menacing aura. I can't praise it enough.
Okay, good. I will watch it. Um, what aspect of and for I'm not gonna be able to pronounce it of Yu-Gi-Oh would you like to see in Hearthstone and vice versa?
Oh man. So what is in Yu-Gi-Oh what I'd like to see in Hearthstone is what you're asking?
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually a really good question. I mean, one thing that Yu-Gi-Oh does very well in my opinion is they bring back like old archetypes very well. Like for example, Blue Eyes White Dragon. Very very prominent card from not only the anime, but it's a really good card in the actual Yu-Gi-Oh meta because they keep printing support for it. So something that I would like to see in Hearthstone, and they're kind of doing this with like the rotating core set to a degree, but I would like for them to bring like cards that we never like get to see anymore. Like a good example, Carnivorous Cube. If we could somehow bring back Carnivorous Cube to where it's in the standard meta, that would make me super freaking happy. But I guess the other thing that I would like to see from Hearthstone that maybe they could pull from the Yu-Gi-Oh scene is I think the tournament scene is still like very active, but they have Konami backing it up, and Konami has like a lot of money that they can invest into it. So I don't know like all the specific logistics behind it, but I would like to see more Hearthstone tournaments that are like taken as seriously as like Yu-Gi-Oh World Championships.
Okay. Good. Hopefully it's gonna happen.
Yeah, esports support, man. We need it, and hopefully this next year of announcements is going to be what we really are hoping for.
I agree. What does Death Knight needs, in your opinion, to perform better in the current meta?
What needs to happen to make the meta feel better?
No, Death Knight. So the class.
Oh, what about Death Knight?
So, what do you think we need to do to Death Knight to make it better regarding, like, if we look at the current meta, because it feels like it's underperforming compared to other decks right now.
So I had this conversation with Twitch chat the other day about because a lot of people were asking me because I was playing a lot of Death Knight the other day and I was kind of getting frustrated on stream. And I feel like we don't really need to do much to Death Knight right now. Uh, what's the biggest problem with the class is literally just the pool of cards that are available to it. So if we were to compare the release to Death Knight to the release of Demon Hunter, the reason why Demon Hunter was so ridiculously powerful was not just because the cards were really good by themselves, but you could literally pull from everything. Death Knight, the runes are a lot more restrictive in a pool with like the amount of cards that they have. I think like Zeddy or someone ended up making a tweet where it's like, well, if Death Knight had like a location, if they had like a colossal, if they had like a hero card or something like that, they would have these tools that actually flip the game around. There are not a lot of Death Knight tools that you play the card, you put yourself ahead while putting your opponent behind, and unfortunately, that's not going to. There's nothing that you can really do right now outside of adding more cards that's going to fix that. I've heard some people talk about like, what if there was a fourth rune that you could add to the Death Knight, so that way you could play triple rune plus an additional card that you want to put into the deck, like triple blood, one frost, for example. But the issue with that is it's going to become extremely more powerful with the more cards that you add to Death Knight. So it's really awkward that Death Knight is in like the position that it is right now because there are good synergies that are there, but it can't keep up with the scams that Rogue, Druid, and all of these other classes can do because they have such a large pool of cards to choose from. Death Knight quite literally has like this pool of cards, and that's it. And this is like the end of the year where cards are like sets or classes, I should say, have the most amount of tools. So until Death Knight gets more tools, I really don't think there's much that we can do to it.
I agree. Yeah, that is a very good point.
I think the rune idea is interesting, but I would like to see what the new cards look like, because if we are able to switch or like mix these runes a lot more meaningfully, it could actually like break Death Knight legitimately.
Last question we have. How did you meet your bandmates?
Some would call this fate, but there was literally a sign on the wall of the music department of where I was going that was like drummer needed. So I called that number. I did an audition, and it's actually funny because during my audition, there was somebody else that was trying to get the role that I actually knew from high school because we did marching band together. He ended up doing his performance first. He did not do well, like at all. Didn't get through the song, and then I did one of the songs that they asked me to do. I played it damn near flawlessly, and then he was like, "Yeah, you got this. I'm just gonna head out. I'll see you later." So I ended up meeting my bandmates literally because they put a sign up in Ball State's classrooms.
Wow, that is kind of like kind of like in a movie.
Literally, like it was. I make this joke all the time, but there's a lot of things that happen in my life where it seems like fate's trying to make me do this, and it's like when I was literally trying to become a music major, but my love and passion is for live performance and for rock and roll music. Unfortunately, not a lot of rock and you can't get a degree in rock and roll. Okay, you can get a degree in jazz, but you can't get a degree in rock and roll.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe the school system needs to change it. Maybe it did. Maybe it did since then.
Yeah, yeah. Give me that major in rock and roll. I think you can like minor in like rock and roll like history or something like that, but that's about as close as we're getting right now. In all honesty, like something I wish that I did when I originally went to college was I wish I would have focused more on sound production, because that's honestly where a lot of my passion comes from, is the creative process of putting things onto a medium.
Well, that's a very good passion, and we hope you all the best in that passion. So
Yeah,
thank you so much.
oh, thank you, thank you. One thing I should say though
Go, go,
about
go.
my music career is I was actually able to meet Superior David because I ended up having a gig in Chicago. So it's funny how like sometimes my music and my Hearthstone stuff can clash,
That's
in a good
good.
way.
That's really good. I didn't know you guys met.
Yeah, he saw like the end of our performance. Unfortunately, I couldn't hang out and get a beer with him because we had to leave afterwards. But I was playing with the Indigos. That's the name of my band, and he was actually he was pretty impressed.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. We really appreciate this. And I hope you're gonna have a fabulous evening. And we will talk soon.
Yeah, thanks again for having me on. I like I said, I always enjoy just having conversations with people in the community, and stuff like this is a good way to just just make good connections.
For sure, for sure. I'm glad you appreciate it. So have a great evening, and I will go to my birthday party.
All right, have a good one. Thank you very much.
Bye, Clark. Talk to you
See
soon.
you around.